coronavirus is accelerating.
现在还是出现传染的这个现象。We're seeing false, misleading information. It's kind of strange.
医疗人员和防疫物资的紧张仍然是武汉 and unprecedented quarantine. Wuhan and central China and nearby cities in lockdown.
Coronavirus outbreak has started to affect more and more people each day. The coronavirus has already spread to at least 30 countries. The most badly affected include Japan, Italy and South Korea. There have also been deaths in Hong Kong, Taiwan, France, the US and the Philippines. For those who do not know what exactly this virus is, let me explain it to you in simple words. Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that cause illness ranging from the common cold to more severe respiratory diseases. These viruses are zoonotic in nature, meaning they are transmitted between animals and humans. There are several known coronaviruses which are circulating in animals, but they have not yet infected humans. The coronavirus COVID-19, which is the virus we are dealing with right now, was first originated in the Wuhan city of China. Many of those initially infected people either worked or frequently stopped in the Yunnan seafood wholesale market in the center of the Chinese city. Now the question is, what is being done about it? Is there a cure for coronavirus? What is the update on that? Where are our scientists and pharmaceutical companies and what are they doing about it? In the months since the novel coronavirus rose from a regional crisis to a global threat, drug makers, large and small, have scrambled to advance their best ideas for thwarting a pandemic. Some are repurposing old antivirals, some are mobilizing tried and true technologies, and others are pressing forward with futuristic approaches to human medicine. Here is a guide to some of the most talked about efforts to treat or prevent coronavirus infection, with details on the science, history and timeline for each endeavor. Gilead Sciences. Gilead's Remdesivir, an intravenous treatment, has already been used to treat one infected patient in the US and will soon be deployed in a pair of large late-stage studies in Asia. During next 1 year, Gilead will recruit about 1,000 patients diagnosed with coronavirus to determine whether multiple doses of Remdesivir can reverse the infection. The primary goals are reducing fever and helping patients get out of the hospital within 2 weeks. The drug, which previously failed in a study on Ebola virus, is also being studied in smaller trials in China and the US. Moderna Therapeutics. Moderna set a drug industry record with mRNA-1273, a vaccine candidate identified just 40 days after the novel coronavirus was sequenced. The company is working with the National Institutes of Health on a healthy volunteer study. If mRNA or messenger RNA 1273 proves itself to be safe, the two organizations will enroll hundreds more patients to determine whether the vaccine protects against the infection. Moderna's product is a synthetic strand of messenger RNA designed to convince bodily cells to produce antibodies against the virus. CureVac. Like Moderna, CureVac uses man-made mRNA to spur or stimulate the production of proteins. And like Moderna, it got a grant from the non-profit Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations to apply its technology to coronavirus.
At the core of each of our cells are DNA molecules, which carry the essential information needed to make up every part of our body. DNA contains the blueprint of life, known as genes. Every gene codes for a protein, and every protein has a function, such as helping the body grow or fight disease. All these proteins are produced outside of the nucleus by specific cellular machinery. So how do our cells transfer the information from inside the nucleus to the outside? Messenger RNA, or mRNA, carries instructions from DNA to protein factories outside of the nucleus called ribosomes. The instructions coded on mRNA are translated into proteins in these protein factories. In this way, the RNA people are capable of reprogramming the machinery to produce tailor-made medicines naturally in the body. CureVac scientists use their specific knowledge about mRNA to enable the body to produce its own medicine against a multitude of diseases. By engineering mRNA to carry the right information, we can deliver messages to cells to produce everything from disease-fighting proteins to functional antibodies.
CureVac has said it expects to have a candidate ready for human testing within the next 10 months. The company is also working with CEPI on a mobile mRNA manufacturing technology, one that would theoretically allow healthcare workers to rapidly produce vaccines to respond at the site of an outbreak. GlaxoSmithKline. GlaxoSmithKline is one of the world's largest vaccine manufacturers. It is lending its technology to a Chinese biotech firm at work on a coronavirus vaccine. Under an agreement signed last month, GSK is providing its proprietary adjuvants compounds that enhance the effectiveness of vaccines to Clover Biopharmaceuticals. Clover's approach involves injecting proteins that stimulate an immune response, thereby priming the body to resist infection. Inovio Pharmaceuticals. Inovio has spent the last 4 decades working to turn DNA into medicine, and the company believes its technology could quickly generate a vaccine for the novel coronavirus. Inovio has come up with a DNA vaccine it believes can generate protective antibodies and keep patients from infection.
How Inovio's DNA vaccines are delivered. The idea of stimulating the immune system using DNA vaccines coded for disease-related antigens is a powerful concept. However, it relies on cells of the body to produce the antigenic proteins, and a critical challenge has been getting sufficient amounts of the DNA vaccine through the protective membrane and into cells. Inovio has overcome this barrier with its proprietary electroporation delivery technology. The electroporation device needles are inserted into a local area of skin or muscle. We inject many copies of our Syncon DNA vaccine or immunotherapy in the same area. Then, the electroporation device creates controlled electric pulses lasting milliseconds. The procedure lasts just seconds.
Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson, which has in the past responded to outbreaks of the Ebola and Zika viruses, is taking a multi-pronged approach to the coronavirus. The company is in the early days of developing a vaccine that would introduce patients to a deactivated version of the virus, which will trigger an immune response without causing infection. At the same time, Johnson & Johnson is working with the Federal Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority on potential treatments for patients who are already infected, a process that includes investigating whether any of its older medicines might work against the coronavirus. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. Regeneron has grown into a $50 billion business based on its ability to craft human antibodies out of genetically engineered mice. Now it's tapping that technology in hopes of treating coronavirus. The company is immunizing the antibody generating mice with a harmless analog of the novel coronavirus, generating potential treatments for the infection. The most potent antibody results will go into animal testing, and if everything goes according to plan, Regeneron will be ready for human testing soon. The last time Regeneron embarked on this process during the Ebola outbreak of 2015, it came up with an antibody cocktail that roughly doubled survival rates for treated patients. Sanofi. Sanofi, which has successfully developed vaccines for yellow fever and diphtheria, is working with BARDA on an answer to the coronavirus. Sanofi's approach involves taking some of the coronavirus's DNA and mixing it with genetic material from a harmless virus, creating a chimera that can prime the immune system without making patients sick. Oh, wait a second, what does chimera mean? In genetics, chimera is an organism or a tissue that contains at least 2 different sets of DNA. So Sanofi expects to have a vaccine candidate to test in the lab within 6 months and could be ready to test a vaccine in people within a year to 18 months. However, approval for its use for treatment would likely be at least 3 years away. VIR Biotechnology. VIR Biotechnology, a company focused on infectious disease, has isolated antibodies from people who survived SARS, a viral relative of the novel coronavirus, and is working to determine whether they might treat the infection. They have teamed up with a Chinese pharma contractor WuXi Biologics. The San Francisco-based VIR is in the early stages of development and has not specified when it expects to have products ready for human testing. So as you can see, most of these cures are in very early stage of development. Till then we have to rely on the saying that prevention is better than cure. And here are some of the most asked questions answered about the coronavirus. From very basic ones like what are the symptoms to how to protect yourself from the coronavirus infection. Go ahead, take screenshots and share them with your loved ones. You can also download its PDF from the description down below. Share with your friends, family and loved ones and spread the awareness. On my channel, I make videos on our past, present and the future, which involves dealing with the history, philosophy, politics and the future tech. Go ahead, check out the playlist and videos that are already available. Subscribe if you find them interesting, and also I assure you that more interesting content will keep coming up. If it is possible for you, economically support my channel on patreon.com.